Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of ILLflips. I'm Jordan Brown from ILLstrips. Today I wanted to have a look at these KIRK magazines. They're a Spanish sci-fi magazine that ran from the 80s maybe up to the 90s. My initial draw to these were the Luis Royo covers, as you can see on these two copies here. I initially discovered him on the covers of Air Comprimé, a French sci-fi magazine from around the same time. So I thought we'd just crack these open. I got a bundle of them online while picking up the Royo covers. I haven't really looked at these properly myself, so it'd be kind of a first look for me also. But let's start with these ones. Some of them are a little bit more scuffed up than others, and they seem to have a nice range of European artists. You know, from the get-go there you can see Hergé, Tintin, and just a little bit of a table of contents. You can see Justo Jimeno, Dick Matena, Salvador Vasquez, Sepik River, and then this is Bolland, Brian Bolland, Judge Dredd. So there is, you know, some 2000 AD stuff also. Jose Ortiz, Crack and Munde, Genis, and then of course Hugo Pratt, who's one of my favorite artists. So yeah, we'll just do kind of a quick enough flip through, because there's a few of them, and just give you a little taste of what's inside the Spanish KIRK magazine. And I'm pretty sure it's probably all black and white, maybe some color throughout, but pretty nice looking black and white art from the jump. And this is Dick Matena. Roy Rogers. Sepik River, who's quite like Mobius, especially the Airtight Garage era Mobius. A lot more scratchy line maybe. But definitely his own style also. This is from 1979. But yeah, it does remind me a lot of the Airtight Garage Mobius. Just those, you know, over shoulder shots and stuff. The ears, jaw lines. But just a lot more mark making, which has a nice quality to it. Some Judge Dredd, John Howard script, and Brian Bolland art. Always nice to check out some Brian Bolland art. One of the best. Justo Jimeno. This looks like more traditional style illustration of this sort of cavalry. Pretty nicely drawn horses. Very lifelike faces. This looks quite old. I'm not sure if this would be from the 70s or 80s era, maybe early 70s, but that's pretty cool. It's a kid playing with his toy soldiers and this cat. Jose Ortiz, I believe is Spanish. It's not as wild as maybe the Air Comprimé. Seems to be, you know, less sci-fi, more a mix of genres, which is cool to see also. war comics, adventure comics, Marilyn Monroe. Some interesting stuff on the page though. Like this panel with all the blood spatter on top of the piano keys. Some cool hatching going on in the background. This is interesting. Poor Genius. Strange, kind of squatted soldier figures. Kind of slightly out of proportion. It looks good. A war comic. Maybe this is where the magazine gets its name. I'm not sure. It says like Sergeant Kirk and El Trador. Probably butchering any Spanish names in here, so excuse me for that. Cowboys and Indians. And it said this, like, I suppose this must be the Hugo Pratt story, but it doesn't really look like Hugo Pratt. Well, maybe it's earlier than Corto Maltese, which is pretty interesting. I know Hugo Pratt lived in Italy and made his career there. Spent a lot of his life in Europe. And then your usual kind of checklist in the back of previous issues. Cool back over. It's another Royo cover. This one is detached, but that's pretty badass. A Mad Max style lady here. Amazing detail and just color application. I guess it's almost a painting, but pretty impressive. More Brian Bolland, Judge Dredd. Amazing black and white art. Yeah, this is drawn by Hugo Pratt. Sergeant Kirk and El Trador. That's written by H.G. Osterheld. Okay. It looks more worked out than Corto Maltese, which would be maybe a sign of him being a younger artist. Because Corto Maltese gets very loose later in the run when he gets older. Here's some color. Blueberry. Jean Giraud. Also as Mobius. Excuse me. Always nice to check out some Blueberry. Jose Ortiz. Maybe some wash, ink wash this time around. That's a pretty impressive illustration. Fernando something or another. Fernando de Bujos. Cool rain. Yeah, it's kind of amazing how many artists around Spain, Italy, France were doing such amazing comic book, especially sci-fi artwork in the 70s and 80s. Of course, you come across it in metal law and then heavy metal, but when you discover all these other magazines that were published around the same time, it's always a pretty cool revelation in each one. This is like almost a Frank Frazetta style cover. Maybe it's by Esteban Marota. Not quite sure. Here's some metal long. Lazarus Stone. I think this is Dick Matena again. I know very little about this magazine, so yeah, if anybody has any history with it or they grew up reading it, if you want to leave something in the comments, please do. As I mentioned before, it's kind of my first flip through. Is Sagrada Familia, Barcelona. It's cool to see Spanish comics also. I've seen a lot of French stuff over the years, but French or Belgian, Italian, but Spanish not so much. So that's kind of interesting to check out. I'm sure there's a couple more Argentinian guys in the mix. Justo Jimeno again, doing a color comic which seems conquistador, Aztec-esque. Pretty cool. Probably older than the 80s, maybe. Not sure. The 80s is just so taken up by sci-fi and cyberpunk style stuff after the likes of Blade Runner and Mobius and all the contributions from Mattellerland. So it's unusual when you see these adventure comics. The checkered jacket always being a motif in comic books. This almost looks like no. I was gonna say it was like a bit like Steranko-esque here, but just this panel. Got the very European hand lettering style. And then a little bit of Hugo Pratt to close it out. With this cowboy western scenario. And I think we saw this guy, Morato, in a previous video in Air Comprimé, doing this very the artist is escaping my name. The Irish artist did a lot of stained glass art. Harry something or another. It'll come to me. Again, and this one is detached. Got some Adele Blanc-Sec, Jacques Tardy, the collected albums. Yeah, there's just endless great cartoonists from this time. A lot of competition. Cisco Kid. A lot of cowboy and Indian stuff going on in these KIRK magazines. Maybe it's something to do with the Sergeant Kirk character in that Hugo Pratt story. Something I'm missing here. Because Blueberry's popping up quite often too. Yeah, some of these issues are a bit fucked. I was just happy to get the Luis Royo covers. I like this cover too. Crazy helmet and several faces blended into one. It's from this is number 12 from June 1983. Now, I don't speak Spanish, but I'm thinking maybe Portada is cover, so maybe this is Jimeno on the cover. I think so. And then Dick Matena again with Lazaro Stone. I really like this black and white art. This is an unusual style, different from some of the other stuff you might see in these pages. Works really well. But there's something weird about it also. Amazing. Strange bodies. It's almost like a little bit of like Charles Burns in some of these marks. These brush marks. Good few pages of this. Walter L. Robot. And this is a 2008 story. Brian Bolland again. Jimeno, I guess, yeah, if you see this guy and then the cover, that's his style. Didn't know Jimeno. I like it. Good stink of these magazines too. Smell like they've been hanging out in someone's dusty old apartment for quite some time. A whiff of cigarettes off them. So yeah, it's a funny old mix. It's kind of Western comics, a little bit of sci-fi. And you got your 2000 AD. Some war comics. And always finishing with Hugo Pratt. And this Sergeant Kirk story, so yeah, it's all making sense now. And probably have one more of these to look through. This is number 6, October 1982. So maybe it started in 1982. I guess it definitely did actually. Who do we have here? Francis Agra. I'm sure every one of these stories is reprinted somewhere else, or was printed previously in another publication, but I need to find out more about this magazine series also. Wouldn't be too interested in the cowboy Indian style stuff personally, but obviously you can't deny that art is very nice. Some more blueberry. Jean Giraud, Mobius doing completely different style before all of his sci-fi adventures. Jordi Bernet, amazing black and white artist, one of the best with a brush. Might know him from Torpedo, his gangster comic. Really nice art. Amazing. Cool to see him doing this kind of adventure story. This Indiana Jones kind of character. Strange dinosaur moose. Close out again with Hugo Pratt. Only 3 pages of that. So yeah, that's a little taste of. Here's your maybe your title character, KIRK, in his own album. Yeah, that's a little taste of KIRK magazine, Spanish adventure sci-fi series from the 1980s. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll catch you in the next video.